Thank you so much for joining me on For Our Edification. Joining me is someone who I had the pleasure of meeting in the podcast group. It was Find a Guest, Be a Guest, and her name is
Uh-huh.
Michelle Steiner. And Michelle is a disability advocate. And Michelle, thank you so much for inquiring about being on the podcast and answering my little call for guests. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited for having me. I'm so excited to have this conversation.
Good enough. And you're in Pennsylvania. So I hope things are
Uh,
going pretty well in Pennsylvania right now.
they are. It's nice and sunny out this afternoon, and it's starting to warm up, so that is very nice.
Cool, cool. So I would love to hear your story. When you sent me the story, I had to have you on to talk about it. So let's start from the beginning, as I do with my guests. We all have those times when
Mhm.
it feels like we've lost footing in our careers. And so for you, what was that moment and how did you respond to it?
I think one of the things where I felt like I lost footing in my career was many years ago when my job was downsizing and I was already living back at home with my parents. And I just thought to myself, where is this going? I had some temporary jobs and I was really enjoying having that independence, but I just didn't really know what I was doing. And I really questioned a lot of that purpose whenever I was moving back home. But it led to some other opportunities in my life that I couldn't do otherwise.
What kind of work were you doing?
I was working in a childcare center at that time. I had some temp jobs where I filled in, and then eventually I was part time. So I worked for a Head Start program as an aide, and I was enjoying that.
Yeah, and right now you're a paraprofessional, right, in education.
Yes. So I am a teacher's assistant too, and I circle back to that, which was amazing. Years later, that is what I circle back to.
So as you are going through this career of yours, had you always wanted to be in education?
I knew that whenever I was growing up that I wanted to work with kids and that I wanted to go to college. I knew those were things in my life that I wanted to do. And but I also knew that with having a learning disability, that becoming a certified teacher wasn't the best idea because I knew how tough that would be with taking some of the courses, especially math.
Yeah, and you know what? I want to circle back to that, especially you're being a disability advocate, because
Mhm.
one of the things that you told me in your story is that you were told that you would not be able to complete a bachelor's degree, and so just go over very quickly what it was like for you to first of all hear that, but then to go ahead and actually do what someone told you you couldn't do.
Yeah, yes, that was something with hearing that in my life, and that was really difficult. I can remember I decided I wanted to go to college, and I people were telling me, "Well, you should go to a trade school." Well, nothing interested me, and then when I just did it afraid. I went to community college, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to pass. I didn't know a whole lot about how to advocate for myself in the very beginning, but I was able to get my associate's degree in early childhood education. And then when my job was downsizing and I was back at home with my parents and I wasn't employed, I decided that I wanted to go back to college. And that really turned out to be a blessing for me because I wasn't working 20 hours a week like I did when I went to community college. And I could really go forward and I selected a program that I liked that had the least amount of math and science possible and had
Yeah.
disability accommodations. And this time I used them. I had a note taker, I had extra time on tests, and I got very comfortable with saying that hi, my name is Michelle. I have a learning disability, and these are the supports I'm going to need. And that really is what helped me out a lot too, because once I started to own that, that helped it because it just made it a lot easier. And if I knew that if I went along and I did those things, it doesn't mean it was always going to work out perfectly, but it did work out in my favor. My grades improved and I was able to make dean's list for a semester and I graduated with a bachelor's degree. And not working gave me that time to study. School was my job at that point.
Yeah.
And I also had financial aid that came through OBR, and I also had it state funding because I was at home and I didn't have a job, so I was very low income at that time, and that really enabled me to do a lot more. And then if I was working all those years, and I even had a ride, that was the other really neat thing because I can't drive because of my disability, and I
Yeah.
knew that I didn't want to stay on campus, and my there was a family member that worked at right on campus, and she offered me a ride when she found out I was going back to school, and was happy to do that, and that just really turned out to be a blessing, and I was able to graduate debt free, so that was another really important thing too.
That is a huge thing to graduate debt free. So, cheers to you on that, because, goodness knows. So that I love what the part of your story that I love the absolute most is that you owned it. And I think that's the hardest thing for a lot of people. I mean, I found out at the age of 53 that I have ADHD.
Hmm.
And I couldn't figure out why I couldn't finish projects at work, why I couldn't manage
Yeah.
big projects, why I would always
Hmm.
forget things. I couldn't figure that out. And I also have friends who have ADHD, but they really hate that they have it, so they don't talk about it. But for me, I immediately embraced it because at
Yeah.
least I had an answer. I knew
Right.
I knew what was happening. I understood how my brain processed everything. And so I cheers to you. Cheers to you
Thank
on
you.
owning it. Yeah. So this moment that happened when you had the setback in your work life and your career,
Hmm.
um, how did that impact your professional life? What were you feeling? What were you thinking?
I think that was really hard. I just wondered. I really questioned a lot when I had that setback. Like, where is the direction of my life going?
Mhm.
Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? And it was also a difficult season because I'd lived in town where I was in a convenient location where I could walk or take the bus places, and my parents lived out in the country, so that was hard for me with transportation, and not having a job. That also was difficult with just not having a lot of money to do things with, and it really caused me to think, well, what is this purpose? What's the plan behind it? And going back to school gave me that purpose, and
Mhm.
I got to see that plan that was unfolding for me, and it turned out to be something even better than I could imagine, and I'm grateful for my parents for providing that place for me to be there with not having to worry about uh, paying for rent, not having to do a full-time job on top of that, and my studies. I know that would have been really difficult for me and to do well at. And also, just as I said before, with the future, not having to go into debt for having things like a meal plan or
Mhm.
have housing on campus. Those are some things that a lot of our students pay a lot for, and I think that that was the blessing behind it. But I certainly struggled. There was a lot of long days, and I definitely love having that independence now.
Hmm. By the way, I meant to ask you this because I'm a big
Mhm.
higher education advocate. So, where did you own your associate? Where did you earn your associate? Where did you earn your bachelor's?
Sure. I got my associate's degree from Butler County Community College, and I got my bachelor's degree in community programming for Americans with Disabilities. They call it a transition specialist now. At Slippery Rock University.
That is so cool. That is awesome. So, for a lot of us, one of the hardest things to do is to adapt to a change that's happening, especially when we've had a setback. So, what about you? What did you learn about your ability to adapt to change? And how did you begin to transform your career as a result of what happened to you?
A lot of the what I had to learn to do in that time period when I had that setback, and just with other things that happened in my life, is focusing on the things I could change and the
Mm,
things that were in my power to do that. I couldn't change that I didn't have money and I could be at home with my family, but I could focus on going back to school. And then when I I moved out on my own, I still had the disability. I still had challenges with that. But I think what I learned how to do was focus on those things I like to do. I like to hang out with my friends. I like to read. I like to write. And then later, I started to see other things I like to do too, like photography. And it really changed my perspective on life. For example, I can't drive because of the disabilities I said before, but I notice I can notice details that other people will miss while they're driving. So I'll be in the car with my husband and I'll say, "Did you see that?" And he's like, "No." He's focused on the road. And I'll get to see a flower, and sometimes when I don't have a ride, if it's in my neighborhood or nearby, I get that chance to go on a walk and take that picture of that flower and notice details that other people don't, like within a flower. And rather than being sad that I don't have a ride somewhere, I get that chance to literally stop and smell the roses. And there was
Mm.
so much beauty that I almost missed, that I would have missed with having that. And also with the disability, I almost missed all the beauty that has come from that. And I get to do that when I work with my students in the classroom too.
Hmm. What is I? It's not, it sounds like you're almost the ultimate passenger, and so
Yes.
what what is that like? Because I'm often the driver between me
Hmm.
and my wife. I
Yeah.
rarely am I the passenger. Um, and I know things look a lot different when
Yeah.
I'm the passenger. But for you, what is it like to be able to cultivate that ability to pick up on details that other people might miss? Especially, I mean, the flower, I think is a really good example of that. But what was that like for you to realize that you were picking up on these details?
I think one of the first things was I started to realize it on my walks. I got into photography. I can remember whenever I was at a school dance, it was my prom, and I took a picture at a tree of a tree at our venue, and people were asking me, "Why? Well, why did you take a picture of a tree?" And I didn't know at that age, and I thought,
Yeah.
"Oh, it just looked really cool." And I was in a writing group for adults, and there was an older woman that looked at it and said, "Wow, this really shows perspective." And I put that aside for
Oh,
a lot number of years because I didn't think I was an artist. I can't draw a straight line. I certainly cannot draw people, animals, anything like that. I can't even color in the lines. A lot of that's the hand dexterity and just so
yeah.
so I didn't think I was an artist. I thought, okay, I'm a writer. I like to write. And then I can remember we were at a wedding, and on the way home, we stopped at a cemetery, and I there was these beautiful angel statues, and I started taking pictures of them. And I had another friend, that looked at them and said, "Wow, where were you? These are really good." And the friend that said that, she did not believe in flattery. So I thought, wow, if she thinks they're good, they must really be good. So I, I entered them into an art show, and I ended up getting an honorable mention. And I started to just take other pictures. I thought, this is fun. I like taking pictures. I like posting them. People say they like them. And then I started to realize, whenever I was in the car with my husband, I was noticing details that he missed. I was seeing flowers. I was seeing other landmarks. And at first it was okay, he drives and I'm the navigator. I mean, we have GPS, but sometimes that takes you in the wrong direction too. So I mean, I started to notice details. I started to notice maybe some things that other people missed, and I just started to realize when I was on my walks, oh, there's that beautiful flower there, or there's that butterfly, and I get to capture those things. And that's not something that if I was behind the wheel of a car I could do.
Hmm. This is for our edification. I'm Eddie Francis, and we're talking to Michelle Steiner, and she is a disability advocate. Once upon a time, Michelle was told that she would not be able to complete college, but she completed college. As a matter of fact, she has 2 degrees, and now she is someone who is an educator, and again, a disability advocate. And in your career transformation, we often we're often in places in our careers, um when we have to go through some sort of
Yeah,
transformation where it's easy to lose our way.
right.
For you though, one of the things that I'm hearing is that you were really able to get this really profound sense of personal development and growth. um let's call it personal leadership. That's what I
Yeah.
call it. And for you, how are you able to develop this sense of personal leadership so that not only you growing, but in an example with the students that you have, you're helping them grow. You're helping other people in your family grow. How are you able to
Right.
develop that sense of personal leadership?
Well, one of the first things I have to know what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. I've had some jobs that claimed they were disability friendly, but they were anything but that. And unfortunately, the only way to get through that is you have to just try some out. And if they don't work, then we move on to something else. And then you kind
Mm,
of know how to advocate for yourself, how to speak up, and what and things to look for. And in my job, I can help the kids at anything with anything except for math. And they all know that, and or they'll soon find out. And I can say that with confidence because I used to think, oh, I have to get my whole life together. I have to be perfect. And
mm,
because no one, the kids aren't going to want that, or an employer isn't. But I've turned that into my advantage though, because if I advocate, there's other things I'm able to show my students how to do. I can help out with the reading. I can help out with listening, and I can also show them something that's not part of my job description, but that is advocacy.
mhm,
And I find that that's so important for all my students. Sometimes I'll have a student that is really afraid to ask for help, and they'll be like, oh, I don't understand this. And I'm like, well, let's go ask for help. Well, no, I'm scared. And I'll be like,
yeah.
well, it's okay. I'll go with you. And I really try to stand back and let them be the person that speaks up for themselves. Sometimes it might help with some words if they're really struggling. And that I think is so important because all my students one day will leave me. They'll graduate, and I hope every dream of theirs comes true. But for a lot of them, their disabilities are going to be there. So it's really important now that we get that chance to show them how to advocate, how to speak up for themselves.
Mhm.
And they can take that with them. And that's going to be the key to their success in a lot of different things. So I think that that is one of those key elements. And I think I get that advantage almost too, because if I didn't have a disability, I don't know if I would know what it feels like for a lot of them. I certainly can't speak for everyone because everybody's experience is different, but it is a pretty common thing that I hear that I hate my disability. I don't feel very smart. And I understand what it's like to feel that way. So I get that chance to be able to go in and tell them they are smart and they can learn and to be that example for them. And I think sometimes when I have to advocate for myself and I'm in class and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you with math. And but that
Mm.
shows that everybody has things that they're good at and everybody has things they struggle with. And adults are no different. Everybody has something that they need to, and it's learning how to speak up in a positive manner.
But there was something that you just said
Hmm.
that to me is really profound. And it makes me think about when I would be really hard on myself about things.
Yeah.
And I've had this conversation with my therapist about perfectionism. And I used to be really bad with it. I used to be
Hmm.
someone who, if I didn't get something right the first time,
Yeah.
I would get really frustrated with myself. If I
Hmm.
didn't get it right the second or third time, again, frustration after frustration, and
Yeah.
then I would quit. And and to me, perfectionism is more of a disability
That,
than
yeah,
being
exactly.
comfortable with your limitations.
Right, because it's never going to be 100% perfect. Sometimes we have to just get that we did our best. We tried as hard as we could, and that as long as we're doing our personal best and making progress, then I think that that's definitely something that's far better than perfection.
But it does seem as if, though, your
Hmm.
confidence and your limitations, it does sound as if it helps you move forward much easier because it sounds
Right.
like what you do is you say, you know what, math isn't it. Let's put this on the side. But here's what I can do. And it seems like you stay
Right.
really, really focused on where you can help your students.
Right. And I try to make I feel empowered When
Mm,
I'm
mhm.
doing things that I can do and that I love doing, I feel empowered when I'm helping my students with reading. I feel empowered when I'm taking pictures or writing a story, that I don't feel like I have a disability. And those are the things I can change and I have control over. I can't control that I can't drive. I have no power over that I have a disability. It's always going to be there. And if I dwell on those things though, and I think of everything I don't have, I'm more negative. And I also just feel very limited in my life too. And it just, if I dwell on everything I don't have, then it takes out the joy of everything that I have been blessed with.
So, how do you keep this going? Your personal growth and development. Are there any tools that you use or any specific methods that you use to continue to invest in your personal growth and development?
One of the things that I do is I definitely try to learn from with other people. I love to learn about just different parts about disability culture and policy. I'm involved with a disability policy group right now where we're going and getting speaking on some topics with legislators. In fact, this week I'll be doing my first legislative visit with our group for talking about transition services. So I think that's helpful with the personal development. I think it's also staying in touch with the other people that have disabilities too, and hearing their
Mm,
stories and understanding what they go through as well. I think it's also investing in things and always learning about different topics, just trying to keep those uh, things fresh. And my husband and I also love to travel, so we always love to go to botanical gardens and museums. And I think that also helps us to learn and broadens our horizon. And we get to explore new places, and we also have our favorites that we love to go back to every time.
mm. Okay, all right. What's a favorite?
One of our favorites is Phipps Conservancy in Pittsburgh. We love going there. We're usually there about at least once a month. We're members, so we have their show. We also love the Carnegie. And then some of our other places that we'd like to go back to are the Cleveland Botanical Garden. They also have a great history museum that's there, and an art museum. And we also love New York. We love to go to Niagara Falls and visit
Okay.
that and some of their museums too. And we also love New York City. So there's a lot of our favorites there too.
I love New York City too.
Mhm.
Goodness, I love going back to New York. As a matter of fact, my wife just made me really jealous. My wife just went to New York to participate in an academic event. She actually has a couple of degrees from NYU, and
Nice.
so yeah, I was really jealous. She went. I couldn't go with her. I had to live vicariously through her. I was like, I need bring some hot nuts home or something. Give me something. I don't know. Just
Yeah.
bring something home. But yeah, so there we go. There we go. So the one thing that I love to have my guests finish on, to give you the last word, is a question that I love to ask. And that is, imagine that you are a skywriter and you have the opportunity to write a message in the sky for the edification of the nation. Michelle, what would your message be?
I would just tell people that you can do it, just to give them that encouragement, whatever they're going through in life, that they can handle it.
Oh, see, there we go. I love it. I love it.
Hmm.
And we have something in the background, or someone in the background who's helping you with the message. What am I hearing in the background?
Yeah. Oh, that's my cat, Jack. Yes, he
That's
is
what I thought.
helping out.
Okay,
He's
I
ready for
thought it
his
was a
own little
cat.
show.
Okay.
Yeah, let me see if he wants to say hi. If he wants to, but yeah, that is my cat. I am so sorry.
What's the cat's name?
Jack. We have two of them, Jack and Sparrow.
Oh, Jack and Sparrow. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'll
So
have to
yeah,
give you a picture of them. Yeah, and Jack's our noisy one. There's definitely he has a message too that he'd like to write in the sky.
yeah. Jack is pretty verbose. I get it. I get it.
I think he wants to go outside right now.
Oh, see, there we go. Yeah. So the
Yeah.
demands are being made right now.
Yes.
Michelle, thank you so much for joining me on For Our Edification. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
As I think back to the conversation that I had with Michelle, there are three things for our edification that I need to point out. And the first is this: treat your setback like a new beginning, whatever that is. That can be one of the hardest things for any of us to do. But Michelle is someone who had already been told that her disability would prevent her from going to college. Not only did she get a degree, she got 2 degrees. But you have to keep it moving. So move. Allow yourself to create a new situation, a new reality, so that you can push yourself forward in your career. The second thing that I really picked up loudly and clearly is that being confident in your limitations may sound weird, but it is actually freeing because perfectionism is probably more of a hindrance than a help. At least I can say I found that out in my life and in my career. Perfectionism keeps you from doing what you need to do because you stay stuck on what you can't do. But acknowledging where there are limitations, as I heard from Michelle, frees you up to focus on what it is that you do best. And the third thing, it may sound like a duh thing, but we need to be reminded that connection does help us to develop and to advance. Michelle mentioned leaning into community as a way to grow and develop. But this is another space where perfectionism can be a big, big problem. Because for any of us who are perfectionists, we start to believe that we have to handle burdens alone. So let the people around you help you with your blind spots. And let them also help you boost your talents, your knowledge, and your experience and your skills so that you can move forward in your career. So, to learn more about Michelle Steiner, her advocacy, and her photography, by the way, make sure you go to michellesmission.com. Her info is in the show notes. If today's conversation sparks something in you, then I would love to hear about it. So please connect with me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm most active. Of course, again, just search Eddie Francis. And if you're a leader or an organization that is looking to communicate with more impact and integrity, then I would love to hear from you. Visit eddiefrancis.com to see how I can help out. And if you know someone who needs to hear this kind of conversation and especially this kind of encouragement, then please share this episode with them. So let's grow together because this isn't for your edification or for my edification. It is for our edification. For Dr. Halim Malik Francis, I'm Eddie Francis. Until next time, ciao.